Cold War isn't aging well, which is quite disappointing because there is a lot to like about Cold War Zombies. It completely revolutionized the core progression of the entire zombie mode. It focused on the essence of what made zombies so much fun. This new focus was refreshing and a warm welcome for the zombies community. So with how well received Cold War Zombies is, why do I think it's aging poorly? First of all, after a poll on my channel, it seems as though you beautiful people are playing more Black Ops 3 and even more Black Ops 4 zombies over Cold War. But the question is, why? Why aren't people playing Cold War Zombies? There are obvious reasons that may come to mind first. People might not like the specific mechanics introduced in Cold War, like the created class system, perk system, field upgrades, point system, etc. People might just be done with the camo grind and want to go back and grind other camos. Cold War doesn't have as much zombie content as other games do. It also doesn't provide as much of a challenge as other zombie experiences. And Cold War doesn't have as many map-specific features like perks, weapons, and equipment. All of these reasons are completely valid, but I think there's more going on than shallow, surface-level preferences. I think there is an underlying issue with Cold War that prevents players from returning. My theory is that there is a massive aspect of zombies that is completely absent from Cold War, and more specifically, its maps. I believe the maps in Cold War have a fundamental flaw. They are missing something crucial for zombie players. The specific description may be different for everyone, but in my eyes, Cold War's maps aren't unique. They don't have a strong atmosphere. They don't have a powerful aesthetic. They are missing their own flavor. They don't have that feeling of adventure. They lack spectacle. They lack ambition. They lack boldness. They lack their own character. Ultimately, the maps of Cold War have no purpose. I understand this isn't as specific as some of my other critiques, but let's dive into some previous zombie experiences and show you what I mean. Take Ancient Evil. Ancient Evil is ripe with purpose, both from the perspective of the developers and players alike. Creating a map that plays with the ancient Greece aesthetic that involves multiple characters and gods from that area of culture. The hands of those gods, the story of Medusa having Spartoi and the Giganese as main features, then developing their own underworld full of giant serpents and rivers of blood. As players, getting the opportunity to interact with Perseus when activating the Sentinel artifact, freeing Odin's ravens and defending them while they open the Pack-a-Punch, going on each individual quest to obtain the hands of the gods, and simply being in that play space is an extraordinary experience worth having. Dang, I love Ancient Evil. There is an abundance of purpose within that map. You can see why the developers wanted to make it, and you can see why players want to play it. Now let's take Die Maschine. Why did the developers want to make this map? What story did they feel compelled to tell? What experience did they just have to create for the player? Perhaps the most ambitious and flavorful aspect of Die Maschine is the Dark Aether. Unfortunately, for how spectacular of a sight it is, the Dark Aether doesn't feature often enough in the moment-to-moment gameplay of Die Maschine. And when looking at everything else about Die Maschine, things seem to fall flat. The Pack-a-Punch quest, apart from the first interaction with the Dark Aether, is fairly boring. The Wonder Weapon quests are surface level, and the normal environment leaves much to be desired. This can, unfortunately, be said about most, if not all, of Cold War's map offerings. Forsaken is perhaps the most offensive example. The Power and Pack-a-Punch quest is simply pressing a single button. There is no unique experience, there is no journey to go on, there's no challenge to overcome. It's bland and lacks any ambition. In fact, most Pack-a-Punch quests in Cold War are fairly dull. Die Maschine sends you to the Dark Aether to find a single part. Firebase C has 3 Origins generators, except they lack any flavor or spectacle. Maradar Toten has a power switch that you have to kill 2 special zombies to activate. And Forsaken is literally just pressing the interaction button. Compare those with, well, any of the Pack-a-Punch quests from Black Ops 3 and you'll see a stark contrast. Shadows sees you completing rituals that are specific to the characters you are playing, and then you release this ultimate evil into the world. A gigantic Cthulhu monster arrives in the atmosphere and the entire skybox changes. Zetsubou has players survive an underwater horde of enemies, scratch through dozens of dead bodies, strung up by cobwebs created by the map's boss zombies, and finally trudging through the underwater caves in search of the final piece. Gorod Krovi has you crafting a Dragon Network controller so you can, fly a freaking dragon to Pack-a-Punch. Revelations has you capturing a massive Apothicon, forcing it to eat you, and ripping the Pack-a-Punch machine from its internal organs. Now, the Giant and Horizon may have the weakest Pack-a-Punch quests in Black Ops 3, but I think you get my point. These Pack-a-Punch quests leave a powerful impression. They are experiences worth experiencing over and over again. They are completely in sync with the purpose of the map that they are on. Taking a dragon to the Pack-a-Punch location wouldn't work on Zetsubou. Capturing an Apothicon wouldn't work on Horizon. Slashing through cobwebs wouldn't make sense on Shadows of Evil. Whereas if you were to switch and swap all of the Pack-a-Punch quests in Cold War, they really wouldn't be too out of place. I think this is where we start hearing the criticism of Cold War with, all the maps are just facilities. It's not the fact that all of these maps are facilities because, well, let's be honest, most of the maps in Black Ops 3 are just facilities too. No, rather it's the fact that the main aspect or personality or purpose of Cold War's maps is the fact that they are facilities. It's the main thing that these maps have to offer. Facility in a mountain, facility in Vietnam, facility in Berlin, facility in a Russian-made America town. It all comes down to one question. Why play Cold War Zombies? What experience does it offer you that you cannot get anywhere else? Of course, as we discussed earlier, the brand new mechanics and progression system is the main reason to play Cold War Zombies, but think about the maps themselves. Why play Forsaken over Mauer der Toten? Why play Firebase Z over Die Maschine? What is something on Forsaken that can only be experienced on Forsaken? What is the purpose? What's the pull behind playing Die Maschine? And more importantly, when we compare these maps to the more spectacular and ambitious maps of Zombies past, it's not even a competition. Die Maschine is flavorless compared to Shadows of Evil. Firebase Z's atmosphere is nearly non-existent compared to 9. Mauer der Toten, for as good as it is, cannot compare to the character and ambition of Gorod Krovi. Forsaken's sense of adventure pales in comparison to Ancient Evil. Unfortunately, this is harder to describe than my more logical and factual game design focused discussions here on the channel. What counts as purpose, flavor, or atmosphere may be different for all of us. What is enough of this atmosphere or purpose may be different from person to person. How important a map's character is going to be different for everyone. Despite this conversation being a bit more subjective, I wholeheartedly believe that in order for Treyarch to make a zombies game that lives on through the ages, they need to create a unique map that tells a story. They need to create maps with flavor and spectacle. They need to create maps that are characters of their own. They need to create maps with an addicting atmosphere that players hunger to return to over and over. They need to make bold and ambitious maps that we've never experienced before. They need to make maps that have a purpose, other than just being yet another plain, boring, lifeless zombie map.